Most analysts say Elon Musk thrives on chaos. I don't think that is quite right. When you look at his parzi, he does not thrive on chaos. He thrives on friction. Big difference. Chaos is when everything is messy and nobody knows what is happening. Friction is when two forces rub against each other and something useful is created. Like a matchstick, no friction, no flame. Like a rocket, no pressure, no launch. Like a founder who keeps fighting impossible problems until the impossible becomes a product people can actually buy, complain about, and use at the same time. That is why Elon Musk's 2026 is so interesting. Because the Firehorse year does not simply give him more speed. It puts heat on the exact parts of his chart that already run hot. And when a chart like this meets a year like Firehorse, you don't just get opportunity, you get pressure, visibility, reaction, friction, and maybe, if handled well, another breakthrough. If handled badly, smoke. Very expensive smoke. Okay? Now, before we go further, let's be very clean. Elon Musk's public birth date is June 28th, 1971. But we do not have a verified birth hour. So we are not reading his full buzzer chart. We are reading only what we can see from the public date. Year, month, day. That means we can discuss structure, we can discuss timing, we can discuss what 2026 activates, but we do not pretend to know every detail of his destiny. That would be nonsense with confidence, and the internet already has too much of that lying around like expired food. Okay? Using the public date, the visible pillars show a Jia wood day master. Jia wood is yang wood. Think of a big tree, not grass, not a flower, a tree. A tree wants to grow upward. It wants space. It wants direction. It wants to reach higher. If you try to keep a big tree inside a tiny pot, what happens? The roots push, the pot cracks. The tree does not say, okay, I will remain small to make everyone comfortable. No, Jia Wood does not like being tracked. This is very important when you look at Elon Musk. Whether you like him or not, his pattern is not small. Cars, rockets, satellites, AI, brain chips, social media, robots, Mars. The man does not wake up and say, let me make a modest improvement to office stationery. No, Jia Wood wants height, scale, growth, expansion, something bigger than the current container. But here is where the chart becomes interesting. He was born in the horse month. Horse is fire. So this tree is not growing in a cool forest. It is growing in summer, hot season, bright sun, dry ground, lots of fire. For a Jia Wood day master, fire is output. In simple words, fire is what the tree produces. Ideas, expression, products, technology, message, noise, public statements, launches, inventions, things coming out from the person. So when you see Jia Wood born in horse month, you are looking at a person whose output is already strong. The tree is constantly producing flame. That can be brilliant. It can create light. It can create movement. It can create innovation. But too much fire also dries the tree. That is the danger. A campfire is useful. A forest fire is a problem. Same element, different management. But this is why I say Elon Musk does not simply thrive on chaos. He thrives on friction because his chart has the image of growth meeting heat. Wood meets fire. Ideas become products. Pressure becomes output. Problems become inventions. But this also means he cannot live in a quiet, normal, slow environment. A Jia Wood tree born in fire season does not become great by being comfortable. It becomes great because something is always pushing it. Heat, pressure, competition, deadlines, regulation, public criticism, technical failure, money pressure, launch pressure, people saying this cannot be done. And somehow that friction becomes fuel. Now bring in 2026. 2026 is Fire Horse. Bing Woo. More fire, more horse, more heat, more visibility, more speed. So if his chart already has horse in the month, 2026 brings another horse. Horse meets horse. In Bazi, this can create self-penalty. Don't let the word scare you. Self-penalty does not always mean disaster. It often means pressure created from inside the system. Not always enemies. Not always outside attack. Sometimes the problem comes from your own pattern, your own speed, your own decision, your own habit, your own pressure. Think of a fast car. The car is already powerful. Then you press the accelerator harder. The problem is not the road. The problem is whether the car can handle the speed. That is 2026 for Elon Musk. The Firehorse year does not just give him more fuel. It asks whether the machine can handle more heat. This is why 2026 can be one of his toughest tests. Not because Firehorse is automatically bad for him. That is too simple. It is tough because it activates what he already has. More fire, more visibility, more output, more speed, more reaction, more pressure on the career and public pillar. The month pillar in Bazi is very important for career, work, public role, and operating style. His month branch is horse. 2026 is horse. So the year is not touching some quiet corner of the chart. It is touching the part connected with how he operates in the world. Public work, business rhythm, leadership pressure, execution, his machine. And when fire repeats, the question becomes, is this controlled fire or is this overheating? Look, think of a rocket launch. Fire is necessary. Without fire, the rocket stays on the ground. Very safe, very useless. But too much uncontrolled fire, explosion. So the skill is not avoiding fire. The skill is controlling fire. That is the Elon Musk 2026 question. Can he use the Firehorse year as launch power, or does the heat create too much reaction? Because Firehorse rewards speed, visibility, courage, and bold movement. But it punishes impulsive decisions, emotional reactions, overextension, and lack of control. And let's be honest, Musk's public pattern already has a lot of fast movement. Fast announcements, fast pivots, fast reactions, fast ambition, fast arguments, fast everything. The Firehorse year says, good, let's make it faster. That sounds exciting until you remember brakes are also part of engineering. Now, for a Jiawood Day Master, fire is output. Output is ideas, products, speech, innovation, expression, the thing that comes out from the person. This is why the Firehorse year can also be incredibly productive for him. If managed well, 2026 can push new launches, new products, new public positioning, new technology, new announcements, and stronger visibility. But there is a catch. Output must be useful, not just loud. A tree can produce fruit or it can burn branches. Both are output. Only one feeds people. So in 2026, the question is not whether Musk becomes more visible. He is already visible. The question is whether the visibility produces useful results. Better products, better systems, better execution, better leadership, better trust. Because fire without trust becomes noise. And in period 9, visibility without trust is very expensive. Mandame, this is where friction comes in. Musk often builds in areas where friction already exists. Cars against oil habits, rockets against old aerospace systems, satellites against old communication models, AI against old software thinking, X against old media structures, Neuralink against old medical boundaries. Now, whether you agree with all of this is not the point. The point is the pattern. He does not usually enter a quiet pond. He enters the pond, throws in a machine, and the frogs start filing complaints. That is friction. And for his chart, friction can trigger output. Pressure creates response. Resistance creates invention. Limits create engineering. This is why regulation, criticism, competition, and technical limits do not simply stop him. They often become part of the fuel. Very irritating for his critics, very stressful for his teams, very interesting from Bazi. Jada hai. But too much friction can also damage the system. If you rub two sticks together properly, you get fire. If you keep rubbing after the fire is already burning, you may burn your hand. That is the 2026 warning. More friction does not always mean more innovation. At some point, more friction becomes exhaustion, team exhaustion, brand exhaustion, investor exhaustion, public exhaustion, personal exhaustion. A system can only run hot for so long before something needs cooling. That is why the Firehorse year is not just a power year. It is a management year. Can he manage heat? Can he manage reaction? Can he manage people? Can he manage timing? Can he manage his own output? That last one may be the hardest, because sometimes the biggest opponent in the fire year is not outside. It is your own fire. Let's use a simple story. Imagine a blacksmith. A blacksmith needs fire. Without fire, the metal stays hard. No shape, no sword, no tool. But the blacksmith also needs timing. Put the metal into the fire, heat it, take it out, hammer it, cool it, repeat. If the blacksmith leaves the metal in the fire too long, it weakens. If he hammers too early, nothing changes. If he never cools it, the tool becomes useless. This is Firehorse 2026 for Elon Musk. He has the fire, he has the hammer, he has the ambition, but the question is timing. When to push, when to pause, when to launch, when to repair, when to speak, when to stop speaking. which frankly may be the most expensive skill in modern leadership. Now, what should we watch in 2026? Watch his output, not just what he says, what actually ships, what actually works, what actually improves, what actually gets adopted. In Firehorse year, announcements may come fast, but the real test is delivery. Fire creates visibility. Metal creates execution and rules. Earth creates results and money. If fire is too strong, but execution is weak, you get hype. If fire is strong and the system is strong, you get breakthrough. So watch the difference between noise and product, between statement and shipment, between attention and trust. Because attention is easy for him, trust is harder. And in 2026, trust may matter more than attention. Pakat, watch his companies. Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, Neuralink, the Boring Company. Each one carries a different type of firehorse pressure. Tesla faces market pressure, competition, leadership pressure, and execution pressure. SpaceX carries launch pressure, government reliance, and national infrastructure importance. X carries public speech, reputation, media conflict, and platform trust. XAI carries the biggest firehorse team of all: speed, intelligence, technology, competition, and visibility. Neuralink carries the boundary between innovation and ethics. So 2026 is not just one test, it is many fires in many rooms. And the question is whether the same person can manage all the stoves. Because a good chef can cook many dishes, but if every stove is on full power and nobody is watching the soup, dinner becomes smoke. Watch regulation. For Jia Wood, metal represents rules, authority, pressure, systems, government, and control. And Musk's world is full of metal. Regulators, governments, contracts, space agencies, safety rules, market rules, platform rules, legal issues. Fire output can challenge metal. In simple language, his ideas and actions often push against rules. Sometimes that creates progress. Sometimes that creates conflict. Sometimes both happen in the same week, because apparently efficiency now includes creating your own crisis. In 2026, with more fire, that push against rules may become more visible. So the question is not just can he innovate? The question is, can he innovate without turning every rule into a battlefield? Because sometimes the wall is there to stop you. Sometimes the wall is there so the building doesn't collapse. Knowing the difference is leadership. Watch his communication. Fire is speech. Fire is visibility. Fire is reaction. In a fire horse year, words travel fast. One post can become news. One comment can move markets. One statement can create pressure. For someone already extremely visible, the fire horse year can make communication even more powerful. But power is not always useful. A knife is powerful. So is a chainsaw. Doesn't mean you use it to cut birthday cake. So in 2026, the communication test is simple. Does the message create clarity or does it create smoke? Does it build trust or does it trigger reaction? Does it support the mission or does it distract from the mission? That is the difference between controlled fire and scattered fire. Sabta. Now, for business owners watching this, don't just watch this as Elon Musk content. Use it as a mirror. Because many entrepreneurs have a smaller version of this pattern. You say you thrive under pressure. Maybe. Or maybe you are addicted to chaos because quiet forces you to fix your systems. You say you move fast. Good. But are you moving with direction? You say you are innovative. Good. But does your innovation produce results or just new problems with better branding? You say you work well with friction. Good. But are you using friction to sharpen your business or are you using friction to avoid discipline? These are uncomfortable questions. Excellent. Comfortable questions rarely make money. Sabta. Firehorse 2026 asks every leader the same thing. Can you handle speed? Can you handle visibility? Can you handle pressure? Can you handle your own output? Because the problem is not fire. The problem is unmanaged fire. Fire cooks the food. Fire launches the rocket. Fire lights the room. But unmanaged fire burns the kitchen, explodes the rocket, and turns the room into an insurance claim. Same fire, different skill. Amma? So what can we learn from Elon Musk's 2026? First, friction can be fuel. If someone criticizes you, don't just react. Ask whether there is useful information inside the criticism. If the market resists your offer, don't just blame the market. Improve the offer. If your team pushes back, don't just call them negative. Check whether the system is broken. Friction is not always an enemy. Sometimes friction is feedback wearing ugly clothes. Amma? Second, speed needs structure. Moving fast is powerful only if your system can carry the speed. A fast car with loose wheels is not impressive. It is a future accident. So if you want to grow faster in 2026, first check your wheels, your team, your offer, your sales process, your delivery, your cash flow, your communication, your recovery, your decision making. If these are weak, speed exposes them. Number 10. Third, visibility must become trust. In period 9 and Firehorse energy, being seen is important, but being seen is not enough. People must trust what they see. If your message is loud but unclear, weak. If your brand is visible but inconsistent, weak. If your offer is exciting but delivery is messy, weak. If your leadership is bold but your team is exhausted, weak. Visibility brings people to the door. Trust makes them enter. Number 10. Fourth, innovation still needs timing. Not every idea should launch immediately. Not every fight is worth fighting. Not every reply should be sent. Not every opportunity deserves your yes. In Firehorse year, the temptation is to move now. But good timing is not rushing. Good timing is knowing when the fire is ready. Like the blacksmith, heat, hammer, cool, repeat, not heat forever. Not hammer randomly, not cool too early. Timing matters. Apta hai? So, is 2026 Elon Musk's toughest test? From this Basel lens, yes, it can be one of the toughest. Not because he lacks fire, because he has too much fire activated. And too much of what makes you powerful can also become your problem. The same speed that builds can burn. The same visibility that attracts can expose. The same friction that creates innovation can exhaust the system. The same confidence that breaks limits can ignore warnings. That is the real test. Not whether he can create more noise. He can. Not whether he can attract attention. He can. The test is whether the fire becomes useful. Product, execution, trust, breakthrough, or whether it becomes smoke, reaction, conflict, overheating. Apta hai, most people think destiny means something fixed. It is not. Your chart shows your pattern. Timing activates the pattern, but your action decides how the pattern is used. A knife can cook dinner. A knife can cause injury. Same tool, different hand. Elon Musk's 2026 is not written as one guaranteed outcome. It is a pressure test, and pressure reveals structure. If the structure is strong, pressure creates power. If the structure is weak, pressure creates cracks. That is why Firehorse 2026 matters. It does not just ask Elon Musk to move faster. It asks whether all that fire can be controlled. And honestly, that is the question for all of us. Madalla. So here is my question for you. Do you think Elon Musk's biggest 2026 test is Tesla, SpaceX, X, AI, politics, or himself? Put one word in the comments. Not an essay, one word. And if you want more Buzzer 2026, Firehorse 2026, Chinese astrology 2026, Chinese metaphysics, leadership timing, feng shui, and Chiman Dunjia, subscribe to Destiny Architect. This is not fortune telling. This is timing, structure, and better decisions.